The night was not normal. At first, people thought it was thunder. The ground shook, windows rattled, and car alarms screamed across the city. Then the sky split open with light. A shape, dark, massive, larger than anything human eyes had ever seen, appeared above the clouds. Some said it was a mountain floating in the air. Others said it was death coming from the stars. Panic spread faster than fire. Families rushed into the streets. Children cried. Soldiers were called. The government shouted orders through radios and screens. Stay inside. Do not approach. But fear could not stop human eyes from looking up. And what they saw made their blood turn cold. It was a ship. Not a human ship. Not from Earth. The vessel was so large it covered half the city in shadow. Its surface glowed with lines of alien energy, pulsing like veins filled with fire. No one knew if it came for peace or war. Most believed it was war. Among the thousands of terrified people, one man stood still. His name was Daniel Cross, a simple mechanic. His hands were rough with oil, and his clothes smelled of metal. He was no soldier, no scientist, no leader, just a man who fixed machines for a living. But tonight his eyes did not see doom. He saw something else. He whispered to himself, "Why does it look hurt?" While others screamed and ran, Daniel noticed the ship's movement. It was not smooth, not steady. Sparks burst from its sides. Whole pieces of metal broke off and rained down like burning meteors. The ship groaned like a wounded animal. The ground trembled again. The vessel lowered, fighting against its own weight. Finally, with a roar like mountains collapsing, it crashed into the outskirts of the city. Fire erupted, smoke climbed high, and silence followed, silence filled with fear. Everyone waited for the attack. No attack came. Instead, something moved inside the broken ship. A shadow, a shape. From the wreckage, a figure emerged. It was tall, no, more than tall. It was a giant. The alien stood higher than buildings, its armor cracked, its body bleeding, with strange blue light. Its eyes burned like dying stars. One step from the creature shook the ground. People screamed again, soldiers raised their weapons, and every voice shouted the same word, "Monster." But Daniel did not move. His heart pounded like a drum, yet his feet stayed planted in the dirt. The giant looked weak, its chest rising, and falling with heavy breaths. It swayed as if about to fall. Daniel's mind whispered, "This is not an enemy. This is a being in pain." The soldiers shouted orders. "Fire if it attacks. Keep distance. Do not let it reach the city." Tanks rolled forward, guns aimed high, missiles locked onto the alien. The people begged the army to destroy it. But Daniel took a step closer. His friends pulled at his arm. "Are you mad? Stay back. It will kill you." But Daniel's eyes were fixed on the giant. The alien's massive hand pressed against the ground for balance. Its head lowered as if searching for something. Its voice, deep and broken, echoed across the air. Not words, only a sound, a cry of pain. In that cry, Daniel heard something no one else did. Fear. The alien was not here to conquer. It was here because it had nowhere else to go. Daniel took another step forward. His legs shook, but he forced them to move. Around him, people gasped. A soldier shouted, "Civilian, get back!" Daniel ignored them. He lifted his voice, small compared to the roar of machines and shouts of men, but steady. "You're not here to kill us, are you?" The crowd fell silent. The alien giant's glowing eyes turned down, focusing on the one tiny human who dared to speak. Its breath rattled like wind through broken pipes. Slowly, it lowered itself to one knee, the earth cracking beneath its weight. Daniel could feel heat from its body, smell the strange burning metal scent of its blood. For the first time, he felt its presence not as a monster, but as a survivor. The soldiers grew restless, fingers tightened on triggers, commanders barked warnings, but Daniel raised his hand not in fear but in peace. "Wait," he said softly, almost to himself. "It needs help." The alien giant blinked once. Its head tilted slightly, as if trying to understand the small creature before it. Then, with a groan that shook the night, it collapsed fully onto the ground. The earth shook. Dust rose. The soldiers prepared to fire. And Daniel ran. Not away. Toward. He stumbled through smoke, past burning pieces of alien metal, until he reached the giant's side. Its chest heaved, its breaths shallow. Blue light leaked from wounds as wide as rivers. Daniel touched the ground beside it, his tiny hand against a wound bigger than his entire body. The alien's eye rolled toward him again. For one heartbeat, human and giant locked eyes. And in that silence, something impossible happened. The alien did not see an enemy. It saw an ally. The city did not sleep that night. Smoke rose like black towers. The alien ship still burned on the horizon, painting. The sky red. Sirens wailed. Soldiers formed a wall of steel between the wreckage and the people. But inside the circle of fear and weapons stood one man, Daniel Cross. He had run to the giant's side when others had run away. His chest still pounded, his breath sharp and heavy, but his eyes never left the alien lying broken on the ground. The giant's body was terrifying and beautiful at the same time. Its armor looked like stone mixed with living metal, now cracked and bleeding with strange blue light. Each breath it took rattled like thunder under the earth. Its wounds glowed as if fire lived inside its skin. Daniel whispered, "It's dying." The soldiers shouted at him from behind their wall. "Step away. Civilian, you are in danger. Back now or we shoot." But Daniel did not move. He pressed his palm against the ground near the alien's bleeding side. The soil was warm, almost burning. He smelled iron and smoke mixed with something sharp and alien. The giant stirred. Its enormous head turned slightly. Its single glowing eye opened just enough to see him. Daniel froze. His instincts screamed to run, but another voice inside him said, "Stay," and so he stayed. The alien tried to rise, its hand pressing deep into the earth. The movement shook the ground so hard Daniel fell to his knees. Guns clicked all around. Soldiers shouted louder. Hostile movement. Ready weapons. The alien's strength failed. It collapsed again, its voice booming like a storm, filled with pain. The cry was not the roar of a monster. It was the sound of a wounded creature. A plea. Daniel's chest tightened. He looked back at the soldiers, then forward at the giant. His decision was clear. He pulled the cloth from his jacket pocket, once white but now black with oil stains. He ran toward the nearest wound, huge and glowing, leaking blue fire-like liquid. The wound was wider than Daniel's entire body. He pressed the cloth against it anyway. It was foolish, hopeless, a rag against a river. Yet he pressed hard, whispering, "Stay alive, just stay alive." The alien's eye followed his small movements. It blinked slowly, as if surprised. Behind him, voices screamed, "He's touching it! Get that man out of there! Sniper, hold fire until command confirms." Command did not confirm. No shot came. Everyone was frozen by the sight of one human trying to stop the bleeding of a giant. Minutes passed like hours. The cloth turned bright blue, soaked through. Daniel tore more fabric from his shirt, tying it with shaking hands, making a band of cloth far too small for the wound. But he kept going. "Don't you dare die," he muttered, his voice cracking. "Not here, not like this." Suddenly the alien's chest heaved. Its massive arm lifted, trembling, and came down, close to Daniel. People screamed, thinking the giant would crush him. Daniel looked up in terror, but the hand did not strike. It settled gently on the ground only a few feet away, as if the giant was placing its trust in him. Daniel's fear broke into something else. "Resolve. You're not my enemy," he said. "I know it." The alien's eye glowed brighter for a moment. Then a sound came. Not random, not just pain, but broken words in a deep, metallic voice. "Help." The crowd gasped. Soldiers froze. The giant had spoken. Daniel's heart skipped. He nodded quickly. Yes, I'll help. Hours crawled. Soldiers built camps and aimed weapons, never looking away from the alien. Civilians whispered in the distance. Some called Daniel a fool. Others said he was brave. Many said he would die before sunrise. But Daniel stayed beside the giant. He cleaned the wounds with buckets of water. He pressed cloth after cloth. He whispered words, not sure if the alien understood, but hoping it did. You're not alone. Not anymore. The alien breathed heavy but slower now. Its giant eye closed for moments at a time, then opened again. It seemed to be fighting against sleep, against death. Daniel leaned against its warm armor, exhausted, his hands burning from touching alien blood. He looked up at the stars above the ruined ship, and then, movement in the sky. At first, Daniel thought it was smoke. But then he saw lights, sharp white lights cutting across the darkness. More ships, smaller, faster, circling like wolves around the wounded beast. The alien stirred. Its eyes snapped open wide, glowing fiercely. Its deep voice rumbled again, filled with fear this time. Hunters. Daniel turned toward the sky. His stomach twisted. These were not human machines. These were something else, something far worse. The giant struggled to rise, but pain forced it down again. Daniel stood between it and the lights, his tiny figure shaking, his fists clenched. Hunters? He whispered. Then they're coming for you. The first ship descended lower, its engines screaming. Red light washed over the ruins, over Daniel, over the alien giant bleeding in the dirt. The night that had already changed. The world was about to change again. The night sky was no longer empty. White lights circled like hawks above a wounded animal. The smaller alien ships moved fast, their sharp edges glowing red. The hunters had arrived. Daniel stood at the giant's side, his clothes torn, his hands burned from alien blood. His heart told him to run, to hide like everyone else, but his legs refused. He could not leave. Not now. The giant's single eye glared at the sky with fury and fear. Its voice came broken, heavy as stone grinding against stone. They follow me. Daniel swallowed hard. Hunters, he whispered. They came for you. The alien nodded weakly. Then it spoke again, the words rough but clear enough to freeze Daniel's blood. They kill all who help me. The hunter ships lowered, their beams scanning the ground. Soldiers on Earth aimed rockets and tanks at the newcomers. Commanders barked orders through radios. No one knew who to fear more, the giant already fallen, or the new enemy in the sky. A message boomed across the night, but it was not human. It came from the hunter ships, a metallic voice in perfect English. People of Earth, the creature you protect is dangerous. It has brought war to your world. Give it to us and we will leave. Refuse and we will burn your cities. Gasps spread through the human crowd. Soldiers looked at one another. Leaders whispered behind lines of weapons. The choice seemed simple. Sacrifice. One dying alien to save millions. But Daniel's fists clenched. His heart screamed. He looked up at the hunters' ships and shouted back, his voice shaking but loud enough to carry. You call it dangerous, but look at it. It's hurt, it's bleeding, it hasn't attacked us. It asked for help. No one answered. Only silence and the red glow of hunter lights. Then the human commander spoke, his voice sharp with fear. Civilians, step back. This is not your fight. Daniel turned, fury in his eyes. Not my fight? It became my fight the moment it fell here. You didn't hear it speak. You didn't see it bleed. I did. The alien giant stirred, watching the small human argue with his own kind. Its massive chest rose and fell with pain. Slowly it lifted a trembling hand and set it down near Daniel, close enough that everyone could see the strange connection between them. The message from the hunters came again, colder this time. Choose, hand it over, or die with it. Soldiers grew restless. Guns shifted toward the giant. Some even turned toward Daniel. For the first time, Daniel felt the weight of all eyes on him, human eyes full of anger and fear. He knew what they thought. One man cannot protect the world. One man cannot stand in the way. But Daniel's voice cut through the silence, low but steady. If we give him up, we prove we are cowards. If we kill him, we prove we are monsters. And if we stand with him, we prove we are human. The alien giant's eye brightened, glowing with something like hope. It spoke, the words broken but powerful. You trust me? Daniel looked up, his hands shaking, his throat dry. He nodded once. Yes, I trust you. The alien's eye closed briefly, as if gathering strength from that single word. But the hunters were not waiting. Their ship circled lower. Red beams locked onto the alien's body. Weapons hummed, preparing to fire. The commander gave the order humans feared he would. All units, prepare to hand the alien over. We can't risk a war. Daniel's chest burned. He shouted, voice raw. You'll risk something worse if you betray it. They won't stop with him. They'll see us as weak. And then Earth will fall. The words struck like fire through the crowd. Some soldiers hesitated. Some lowered their weapons. Others glared at Daniel as if he were a traitor. The first hunter ship fired a warning shot. The blast tore across the earth, a wall of flame exploding near the ruins. People screamed and scattered. Soldiers ducked behind their machines. Daniel didn't move. He stood taller, facing the hunters head-on. You'll have to go through me first. The giant shifted, using what little strength it had. Its enormous hand came down again, shielding Daniel's small body from falling debris. The message was clear. If you stand with me, I will stand with you. The hunters adjusted their aim. Red light glared on Daniel's face. One wrong move and both he and the alien would be nothing but ash. Then, something unexpected happened. The alien giant raised its voice, this time louder, stronger, clearer. Its words carried across the battlefield, shaking the ground. Earth, not yours. Human, mine, ally. The hunters paused, their ship circling slower, as if confused by the declaration. The human soldiers stared, shocked that the creature could speak their tongue. Daniel's eyes widened. His heart felt heavy and bright at the same time. The alien had called him an ally. The hunter's voice came once more, colder than before. Then you have chosen war. The ship spread apart, weapons glowing brighter. The ground shook with the power of their engines. Daniel turned to the giant, his voice low but fierce. Then we'll face it together. The alien giant gave the smallest nod, its eye burning, like fire in the dark. The night sky erupted as the hunters opened fire. The night sky exploded. Red fire rained down from the hunter ships, streaking across the clouds like falling stars. Each blast shook the ground and tore open the earth. Buildings crumbled, glass shattered, and people screamed as the war that everyone feared had finally begun. Daniel did not run. He stood by the alien giant, his heart hammering like a drum, his body shaking from the heat of the blasts. All around him, soldiers scrambled to return fire, rockets shooting into the sky, tracer bullets tearing upward. But against the hunters, weapons, human firepower looked like sparks against a storm. The commander shouted through his radio, "All units, hold the line. Protect civilians at all cost." But Daniel knew the truth as soon as he saw it. Humanity's weapons could not match the hunters. Their armor glowed, their shields burned with energy that made bullets vanish in the air. Each strike, from above, sent tanks flying like toys. If Earth fought alone, Earth would fall. The alien giant groaned, its massive frame trembling as it forced itself upright. Every movement sent cracks through the dirt. Its body still bled with glowing blue light, but its single eye burned with rage. The hunters fired again, and the giant raised one massive arm. A field of light rippled from its armor, blocking the strike. The blast split apart, spraying fire harmlessly into the air. Gasps filled the night. Humans had no shield like this. Daniel looked up, shouting over the chaos, "You can still fight!" The alien's deep voice rumbled back, broken but fierce. Not alone. It looked at Daniel, its eyes steady on the tiny human who had chosen to stay. The meaning was clear. If Daniel stayed with it, they might survive. If Daniel left, both would die. The hunters spread out, circling faster. Their lights painted the ground red. Then a second voice came from the sky, sharper, colder than before. Earth belongs to those strong enough to hold it. You are weak. Surrender now or burn with your pet. Daniel's blood boiled. He cupped his hands and shouted at the sky. You think we're weak because we help the wounded? Because we don't throw away the helpless? That's why you'll never understand us. A beam of red energy struck the ground near him, exploding dirt into the air. Soldiers screamed his name, begging him to move. But Daniel stayed. The alien giant reached down, lowering one enormous finger until it touched the ground near Daniel. It was not a weapon. It was a gesture, almost like a hand stretched for a handshake. Daniel hesitated only a moment before placing his tiny palm against the warm, glowing metal. In that touch, man and giant became one side of the same line. The hunters fired again. This time the alien giant answered. With a roar that shook the earth, it slammed its massive fist into the ground. The strike sent out a shockwave, a ring of blue energy that rippled across the battlefield. Hunter ships were thrown back, their shields cracking. Two of them spiraled down, crashing into the hills with fire and smoke. Cheers erupted from the human soldiers. For the first time, hope sparked. But the hunters were not finished. Their leader's voice returned, sharp with fury. You protect the weak. You die with the weak. The remaining ships dove lower, weapons blazing. The alien giant staggered under the strikes, its shield flickering, cracks spreading across its armor. Daniel rushed forward, grabbing a broken piece of human metal, a fallen radio antenna, and jammed it into one of the glowing wounds like a lever. The alien groaned in pain, but then its shield brightened, glowing brighter than before. It used Daniel's desperate action as focus, drawing strength to rise higher. Daniel shouted up to it, "Stay standing. If you fall, Earth falls too." The ground battle raged. Soldiers fired rockets, tanks rolled forward, civilians were dragged into shelters. Every eye returned again and again to the strange sight. One small man standing beside a bleeding alien giant, both refusing to fall. The alien swung its massive arm, tearing a hunter ship out of the sky like swatting a fly. Another fell in flames. But still more circled, relentless. Daniel's lungs burned from smoke, but he screamed again, his voice raw. "They're not invincible. We can win." The alien giant roared with him, its voice booming like thunder. Together, their defiance made the battlefield tremble, then silence. The hunter ships pulled back, floating in a wide circle high above the city. They did not fire. They only hovered, watching. The leader's voice echoed once more, slow and poisonous. "You think this was a battle? This was only a test. We will return, and when we do, not even your giant will save you." With that, the hunters vanished into the clouds, leaving trails of fire behind. The battlefield went quiet, except for the crackling of fires and the cries of the wounded. Soldiers lowered their weapons, their faces pale with shock. Civilians peeked out from shelters, their eyes wide. And in the middle of the destruction stood Daniel and the alien giant. Both scarred, both breathing heavy, both still alive. The giant sank to one knee, trembling, its eye dim. It looked down at Daniel and spoke in a voice broken but certain. "Human, you are my shield." Daniel's throat tightened. He placed a hand on the giant's cracked armor. "And you," he whispered, "are mine." But deep in the shadows, unseen by the crowd, a new threat stirred. Not all humans were glad the alien had survived. Not all trusted Daniel's choice. And some had already begun to plan betrayal. The morning came, but it brought no peace. Smoke still curled into the sky, and the ruins of the city glowed with red embers. People whispered in the streets, wondering if the hunters would return. Soldiers repaired their lines, though their eyes showed doubt. Daniel had not slept. He sat on a piece of broken wall, his hands still stained with blue alien blood. His body ached, but his eyes stayed fixed on the giant resting nearby. The alien's wounds had closed slightly, glowing less than before, but its strength was far from whole. It sat half buried in rubble, its chest rising slowly, as if each breath was a battle. Daniel whispered to it, "They'll be back. You know that, don't you?" The giant opened its eye, dim but steady. Its voice came rough, like thunder rolling over stone. Hunters never stop. They fight, until prey is gone." Daniel clenched his fists. "Then they'll find out we're not prey." The warning came at noon. High above the clouds, the hunters returned. More ships this time, twice as many as before. Their lights cut across the sky, sharp and cold. Civilians screamed, running for cover. Soldiers rushed to their stations. The commander barked orders, but his voice carried fear. Daniel stood tall, though his knees trembled. He turned to the alien. "They'll aim for you first. You can't fight them alone." The giant leaned forward, lowering its massive hand to the ground. Together. Daniel placed his hand against the alien's metal skin. A man and a giant, standing as one. The first strike came fast. Red beams slashed across the city, blasting holes into the earth. Tanks rolled forward, rockets shot skyward, but the hunters' shields deflected the attacks. Their ships hovered low like wolves circling their prey. "Open fire!" shouted the commander. The battlefield erupted in chaos. The alien giant rose to its feet, trembling but tall. It swung its massive arm, creating a wave of blue energy that struck two ships out of the sky. Fireballs lit the horizon. The crowd cheered, but the cheer ended quickly. The hunters answered with fury. Dozens of beams cut through the air, hammering against the alien's shield. The giant staggered, its knees bent. Its chest glowed with cracks of pain. Daniel saw it, and knew the giant could not hold forever. He ran through the smoke, grabbing a radio from a fallen soldier. His voice cracked as he shouted into it, "Don't fire at their shields, aim for their engines, hit the wings where they glow." The soldiers hesitated, then one unit obeyed. Rockets soared, striking the side of a hunter ship. The shield flashed, and then broke. The ship spiraled down, crashing in flames. Daniel's heart leapt. "It works. Listen to me, we can bring them down." The alien giant roared in agreement, slamming its fist into the earth. The shockwave sent 3 hunters spinning. One fell, another barely recovered, and the third exploded mid-air. But victory came at a cost. One hunter dived low, its beam striking the giant across the chest. Armor split open, blue blood spraying like fire. The giant staggered backward, nearly collapsing. Daniel sprinted through falling debris, shouting up, "Stay on your feet! Don't you fall now!" The giant dropped to one knee, its massive hand pressing against the wound. Its eye flickered with pain. Daniel grabbed a metal rod from the rubble and jammed it into a broken power line sparking nearby. The rod glowed with electricity. He waved it at the sky, his voice hoarse. "Over here! Come for me, not him!" The nearest hunter ship turned, its red light locking onto the small figure below. Daniel's stomach twisted in fear, but he stood, his ground. The ship dove lower, charging its weapon. At the last second, the alien giant's hand swept across the ground, scooping Daniel into its palm and shielding him from the blast. The beam struck, but the giant's shield held. Smoke and fire spread across the battlefield. Inside the giant's hand, Daniel coughed, clutching the warm armor. He shouted upward, "You saved me, now let me save you." The battle raged on. Humans followed Daniel's calls, striking at weak points. Hunter ships fell one by one. The alien fought with everything left in its body, its roars shaking the sky, its fists tearing ships apart. Daniel became the voice of the fight, screaming commands, pointing out targets, refusing to stop, even when his throat burned. But the hunters did not flee. They fought harder. Their leader's voice returned, full of fury. "You are insects, you cannot stand against us." Daniel raised his voice, broken but defiant. "Maybe we are insects, but together, we bite back." The alien echoed him with a roar that split the clouds. With one final strike, it hurled a burning ship into the others. The explosion lit the sky brighter than the sun. When the smoke cleared, silence fell. The hunters were gone. The battlefield was broken but alive. Soldiers cheered, some crying with relief. Civilians emerged, staring in awe at the giant still standing. The alien sank to the ground, exhausted, its chest glowing faintly. Its eye turned down to Daniel, who stood covered in ash and sweat. "Human," the alien rumbled, voice faint but proud. "You gave me strength." Daniel touched the cracked armor with shaking hands. His voice was soft but certain. "And you gave me hope." But even as cheers filled the air, shadows moved in secret. Not every human wanted the giant to live. Some whispered that Daniel had betrayed his own kind. And in the dark corners of command, plans were already forming. Plans of betrayal. The battlefield was silent, but the silence was not peace. Fires still burned in the ruins. The smell of smoke and ash filled the air. Soldiers walked among the wreckage, pulling out the wounded and counting the dead. The alien giant sat on the broken earth, its chest rising slowly, its eye dim with exhaustion. Daniel stood at its side, his body shaking from fatigue. He had fought with nothing but courage and voice, but he felt every second of it now. His throat burned, his arms ached, and his head spun. Still, he did not leave the giant's side. He thought the worst was over. He was wrong. The soldiers whispered when they looked at him. Some nodded with respect, calling him brave. But others glared, their eyes cold. Word spread through the camp like poison. He cares more for the alien than for his own people. He risked Earth to save it. He's a traitor. Daniel felt their stares but ignored them. He leaned against the alien's cracked armor and whispered, "Don't worry. You're safe now." But in the command tent, far from Daniel's ears, new orders were being written. That night the giant rested with its eye half shut. Its massive body rumbled with slow, heavy breaths. Daniel sat at a fire nearby, warming his hands. Around him, soldiers avoided him. The ones who did speak only muttered questions. "Why did it choose you? Why risk your life for that thing? What if it turns on us tomorrow?" Daniel answered the same way each time. "It hasn't hurt us. It fought for us." That's more than you can say for the hunters. But no answer could break their fear. Later, two soldiers approached Daniel in the dark. They carried no smiles, only shadows in their eyes. "Command wants to see you," one said. Daniel followed, though his chest tightened with unease. Inside the tent, the commander stood over a table covered in maps. His voice was sharp. "The alien must be surrendered. The hunters will come back. Next time they won't just burn the battlefield, they'll burn our world." Daniel's heart sank. "You can't hand it over. You saw what they are. They won't stop with him." The commander slammed a fist on the table. "You think you know better than the army? Than the government? You're a mechanic, not a soldier. You've put us all at risk." Daniel's voice shook, but his words stayed firm. "And you'll kill us all if you betray him. If we give him up, the hunters will see us as weak. They'll come for us next." The commander's eyes narrowed. "Careful, Cross, you sound like you stand with him, not with us." Daniel stepped closer. "I stand with what's right." The commander's silence was worse than shouting. His eyes were cold as stone. Daniel knew then, this was not a debate. It was a plan already made. That night, Daniel returned to the giant's side. He tried to act calm, but the alien's single eye opened, watching him closely. Its deep voice rumbled, "You troubled." Daniel sat down heavily, running a hand through his messy hair. "They want to give you up." The alien's eye dimmed. Its voice was low, almost like a sigh. "Always betrayal. Everywhere I go." Daniel shook his head. "Not everywhere. Not here. Not with me." The alien studied him for a long moment. Then it said one word, slow and heavy. "Why?" Daniel looked up, his throat tight. "Because someone has to. Because if I don't, no one will." Before dawn, The betrayal came. Engines hummed quietly in the distance. Soldiers moved like shadows, carrying heavy chains and strange weapons, designed to hold the giant. Daniel woke to the sound of boots on dirt. He saw the soldiers forming a circle around the alien, their weapons glowing. His blood turned to ice. He ran forward, shouting, "What are you doing?" The commander stepped out of the dark. His voice was calm, too calm. "Standing down the threat. This alien will be surrendered for Earth's survival." The giant stirred, sensing danger. Its chest rumbled with a warning growl. The soldiers raised their weapons higher. Daniel ran in front of them, his arms spread wide. "If you want him, you'll have to go through me first." The soldiers hesitated, shocked. The commander barked, "Move aside, Cross, this is an order." Daniel's voice cracked, but his courage did not break. "No, not this time. You think surrender will save us? It won't. It will doom us all. And if you can't see that, then maybe I'm the only one here still human." The silence that followed was heavy as stone. Some soldiers lowered their weapons, doubt in their eyes. Others tightened their grip, waiting for the order to fire. The giant rose slowly behind Daniel, towering above them all, its eye burning like fire. Its deep voice thundered across the camp. "This human chose me. I choose him." The ground shook with its words. Soldiers stumbled back, fear in their faces, but the commander did not retreat. He shouted, "Then you both die together." The camp was no longer a place of safety. It had become a battlefield waiting to ignite. Soldiers surrounded the alien giant, their weapons glowing in the dark. Daniel stood in front of them, his arms wide, his heart hammering against his chest. The commander's voice cut through the silence. "Last chance, Cross. Step aside. We will hand it over. That is the only way Earth survives." Daniel's voice cracked, but his words carried. "You're wrong. If we betray him, Earth is already lost." The giant rose to its full height, its shadow swallowing the campfire light. Its wound still burned, but its eye glowed brighter than ever. It rumbled, its deep voice shaking the ground. "Human stands. I stand." The commander gave the order. "Fire." Blasts filled the night. Energy beams tore into the giant's armor. Explosions lit the camp. Soldiers shouted, smoke rose, and the earth shook with the sound of betrayal. But the giant did not strike them down. Instead, it raised one massive arm and shielded Daniel, protecting the man who had chosen it. Daniel's ears rang with the roar of weapons. He screamed over the noise, "Oh no, stop this, he's not your enemy." But no one listened. The soldiers fired again, driving the alien back. The giant staggered, its shield flickering. Daniel's chest burned with rage. And then, the sky split open. The hunters had returned. Their ships poured through the clouds, darker and more terrible than before. Red lights spread across the night, and their leader's voice boomed across the earth. "Your world is weak. Your armies are divided. Tonight, Earth burns." The soldiers froze. Their weapons fell silent. Fear spread through their ranks. Daniel turned on them, his voice raw with fury. "Do you see? You wasted your fire on the wrong enemy. The hunters are the real threat." The alien giant groaned, forcing itself to stand tall again. Its body shook with exhaustion, but it lifted its head high. "No more running. No more chains. Tonight, we fight." The hunters struck first. Red beams slashed across the battlefield, tearing through earth and metal. Soldiers scrambled for cover, screaming. Tanks exploded like toys. Daniel stood his ground. He pointed to the sky, his voice breaking but fierce. "Engines! Hit their engines! We've done it before! We can do it again!" The giant roared, slamming its fist into the ground. Blue energy rippled outward, striking 2 hunters out of the sky. Fireballs lit the horizon. For a moment, courage returned. Soldiers fired again, rockets streaking upward, tearing into hunter ships. Daniel shouted until his throat bled, guiding their aim. "There! The wings! Don't stop!" But the hunters were ruthless. One ship dove low, blasting the ground near. Daniel. He fell hard, the world spinning. Smoke filled his lungs. When his vision cleared, he saw the giant's hand covering him, shielding him once more. The alien's eye burned bright. Its voice thundered, "You are my shield. I am yours." It lifted its arm, catching a hunter ship mid-dive. With a roar, it smashed the ship into the ground, fire bursting into the night. Daniel pushed himself to his feet, coughing, blood on his lips. He shouted up at the giant, "Don't stop. If we fall, Earth falls with us." The battle raged like no storm Earth had ever seen. Hunter ships filled the sky with fire. Soldiers fought from the ground. The alien giant swung its massive arms, breaking ships apart. Daniel guided them, screaming orders, his voice the thread that held human courage together. But the hunters had one last strike. Their leader's ship, larger than the rest, descended from the clouds. Its weapon glowed brighter than the sun. One blast and nothing would remain of the battlefield. The commander dropped to his knees, whispering, "We're finished." Daniel looked at the glowing weapon, then at the giant. His heart pounded. He knew what had to be done. He climbed onto the giant's armor, grabbing hold of a crack in the metal. His voice was hoarse, but his words burned. "Take me closer. I'll end it." The alien's eye widened. "Danger." Daniel shook his head. "No, courage." The giant paused. Then it nodded. A deep, heavy sound. With one final roar, the alien giant leapt higher than before, carrying Daniel toward the leader's ship. The ground quaked from its power. Hunter beams struck, but the giant's shield flared, holding strong. Daniel climbed higher, gripping the glowing metal. As the giant slammed into the leader's ship, Daniel leapt, grabbing hold of the enemy vessel. Sparks burned his hands. He ripped open a panel with every ounce of strength left in him. Inside, the ship's core pulsed with red light. Daniel shouted his final words, his voice a storm in the fire. "For Earth!" He jammed a broken metal rod into the core. The ship screamed with energy. Red light turned to white. The explosion split the sky. When the fire cleared, the hunters were gone. The leader's ship was no more. The rest fled into the stars, broken and defeated. The battlefield lay silent. Soldiers stared at the sky, stunned. Civilians emerged, tears on their faces. And there, among the ruins, stood the alien giant. Its armor cracked, its body trembling. It lowered its hand to the ground. In its palm lay Daniel, burned, broken, but alive. The crowd gasped. The giant's voice rumbled across the earth, not with fury, but with pride. One human stood when all others fell. One human gave me courage. Humanity deserves the stars. It bowed its massive head toward Daniel, a gesture no one had ever seen from such a being. Daniel, weak but breathing, whispered back, "We stood together." And so, the story of one man and one alien giant became more than survival. It became the proof that courage, even from the smallest of humans, could change the fate of worlds.